in a way, I think the MAGA or anything you want to be politically successful, politically significant, you have to build a united front that makes clear but nuanced distinction between who you want to unify with and who you want to target against. And I think that's a really demanding job.
It is, but that's exactly our strategy. It's create a popular front with other elements. And we've been successful in this, I think. If you look at Jackson Hinkle, for instance, he's been able to basically ally himself with a lot of disparate elements who are part of an anti-establishment. You can say it overlaps with MAGA. It's not always the same thing, but the anti-establishment camp. And that's the way we orient ourselves. We are on cordial relations, I would say, with a lot of libertarian elements, with the LaRouche people. We have disagreements with these types. Of course we do. We're not ideologically the same. We're proceeding from Marxism. But we're able to build this popular front because it's our view that if communists forge an alliance, first if they get their shit together and they have a strong party, an independent party, they forge an alliance with these other anti-establishment elements, and then they prove in practice, in deeds, that they're the most capable fighters of the working class, then it will naturally be the case that communists win a good name in America. Because Americans, I think people who are in America, they get this. If your audience isn't, then take my word for it, because I'm from the South. So I'm around these people quite a lot. Americans are not ideological. I mean, students are, like leftists are.
But Chinese.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why we have some common bond between us. I mean, pragmatism came from America, and I think it's found a home in China too. John Dewey and so on. But Americans are not ideologists. The ideological ones are, of course, it's a very small minority. Americans, their attitude for communism will be like, if that's what a communist is, then call me a communist. The problem is this, look, it's kind of funny. You could express it as a meme if you want. Imagine the meme, it will be a brilliant meme. Right-wingers say that communism, the right-wing grifters, they say communists want to come in and take your stuff, take your family, make you gay, abolish your religion, all this stuff. They want to basically destroy your way of life. The left-wingers, the communists, say, we do want to do that. There's nothing you can do. And then there's a kind of right and left-wing alliance and consensus about what communism means. And it's totally alien to what communism ever was historically, even from an intuitive level. And it's, of course, working-class people, when they see all this, they're going to identify communism as the establishment, because that's what the establishment does. They are assaulting, in many ways, religious liberties of people. They are, in result, they are destroying free speech rights. They are taking people's stuff. You will own nothing and be happy. Of course they identify as this as the communists. The communists are speaking this language. So the duty of Marxist-Leninists in the US is to show in practice what it means to be an American communist. Not just to explain it away, kind of like I'm doing here, but to show in practice what it means to be a partisan of the American people. And this is a process that will take years. I mean, no one denies that this is the beginning of something that at least has not been tried before in American politics. But we're confident that if we put in the elbow grease and if we try at least, there's no way that we can lose. There's no way we can lose any more than the left has already. I think we have a lot of disagreements with other people in the anti-establishment camp, of course. But these disagreements are, for the most part, surface level, because we don't take ideology as definitive. What's important is not whether someone calls himself a nationalist, even a socialist, a communist, whatever. What relation do they actually have to the American political establishment? If you're a liberal and you are anti-establishment like Jimmy Dore, you are an ally. We are going to naturally ally with these people. Even if someone is woke, right? But they are somehow against the predominance of, in some aspects, maybe the institutions of the American state, we will of course we're not going to divide and not make friendships with these people. I think that our strategy has been largely successful. It's why MAGA communism was trending, this apparent contradiction was trending so long on Twitter, and why it's prompted a flurry of responses by people supporting and people denigrating us. So again, I think the success speaks for itself.
I think you're in a similar situation where Mao was when he had to unite most people, make friends with, and it was the de facto Chinese foreign policy even after the establishment of the People's Republic of China.
Yeah.
To make friends with more people, the more the merrier.
Just to summarize everything, people don't care who you are and what you do in your free time. They just want to be left alone to their own devices. And what they don't like is the intrusiveness of this ideology. It's not the fact that people identify as transgender or whatever that bothers them. What bothers them is that it is constantly seems to be artificially pushed on them and at the expense of their actually existing problems. Whether it be wages, whether it be destruction of their own free time, they're overworked, they're underpaid, they have no prospect for the future. They see the things they're familiar with in their culture and their way of life disintegrating before them, and they see that the media is basically laughing at this, calling them deplorables, calling them terrorists, calling them all sorts of things. And they naturally feel some revulsion to this, and this of course gets opportunistically taken advantage of by the right. I mean, the right, DeSantis and so on, they're demagogues. They play up on this fear of the left wants to turn your kids gay. All this kind of BS culture war stuff, it's the same project as the liberal establishment. They're in cahoots together because it keeps people distracted and fighting over the scraps. And our position is we are against this artificial imposed culture, but we are not pandering to the right. We're not pandering to the opportunists like DeSantis, who want to, for an example, decry the cultural degeneracy, which is very real in America. It's very real, this degeneration and this moral decay. But the right supporting economic policies that create that moral decay. They're, with one hand, saying, it's so horrible. We've lost the family, we've lost religion. But with the other hand, you are undermining the family. You are undermining religion. With your focus on neoliberal economic policies, with deindustrialization, and you're promising people a false hope that keeps them constantly in the state of anger and divisiveness against other people who might be in their family. I mean, everyone has, I don't like this term all the time, woke family members. This should not be something that divides people, you know? It should be something that Americans, again, have a national tradition that communists should express of let it be. You are what you want to be. And we're not going to bother you one way or another. I have my small plot of land, kind of the human farmer stereotype. Just let me be. Don't involve yourself and stick your nose where it doesn't belong.
This is the time of great change, that the hegemonic order is in retreat. Its weakness is ever more evident since the financial crisis of 2008, and also the elections, the political chaos in America, and not only in America, but in a number of Western countries, especially in the Anglosphere. So I think that the chaos is there. So the change, the great change, is upon us. I was about to ask, what do you think of multipolarity?
We think multipolarity is not simply something to be supported or rejected. It's just a reality that is unfolding whether people like it or not. And I think our view is that a multipolar system is not only the natural way of the world. I mean, that is how the world has historically always worked. Before the unipolar moment, beginning with Britain. I wouldn't even say with Spain, but with Britain. And I think the American people have an interest in, without denigrating ourselves, of course, becoming a normal country. And what that means is, like you said, the weight of being the world policeman doesn't benefit us. It doesn't even get us good clout or prestige. It makes the world despise us, not appreciate us for the contributions that American people have made for humanity. Instead, they can remember the bombs and the missiles and the tanks and their support for Israeli occupation forces. I think that American communists have a duty to not decry America as a project, but to emphasize its roots as, to some extent, an anti-colonial power. I mean, the whole point of the Monroe Doctrine, which was, of course, used to exert American imperial interests under Teddy Roosevelt, was devised to keep the European colonialists out. The aim of the other founders was never for this spiderweb network of NGOs and political ties with other countries and getting involved with the elections of other countries, overthrowing them. It was an economic cooperation that we will build a new Jerusalem here in America, because this is a land of frontiersmanship and land of opportunity. We will develop, and people want to come, they will come. And, you know, as a melting pot, which by the way, again, some dividing line between maybe nationalists. We are a melting pot. America is a melting pot. It's always been a melting pot. We have a definitive nation that they're melting into, but you can't impose a form, whether of whiteness or whatever, or of LGBT identity, which I think they're doing now. This is the new kind of form of a priori imposition. You can't impose this on people. You have to let culture breathe and become what it needs to be. And I think America's interest is to join as another normal nation with the other countries of the world. As a preeminent one, we are a major nation. We are, I think, maybe it's wrong to say, but I think we're also a civilization state of some sort. And I think that we should get along with Russia, China, and the other countries of the world. We want to basically be there as reliable allies of the American working class, which will be looking in all sorts of different directions for an answer. Trump is not their messiah. Trump is an important figurehead. And as a meme, even a very popular one, right? Even internationally, people. But Trump is not going to lead them to the promised land. And no right-wing grifter is going to. And no left-winger is going to even be able to reach out to them because they call them fascists. So we want to build a discourse that is capable of reaching out to them and supporting them and giving them a clear vision and direction to build a working class party that can be an alternative to the two-party duopoly that dominates American cultural, political, and social life.
Okay.
Maybe that's a good way to end.
Yes, that's a good dose of revolutionary optimism.
Of course, you have to be an optimist.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Israel is a terrorist organization.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
Kim Jong-un is a peace-seeking leader. We're going to de-NATOfy Ukraine, and we're going to de-Nazify
All right, you just sound completely bonkers.
And the people in the established Palestinian movement just want him to stop. He and his followers call themselves MAGA communists. And that isn't supposed to be a joke. The crowd here was mostly male and mostly white.
I will just say once and for all, so Piers Morgan never has to ask me again, no, I do not condemn Hamas. Very simple.
Jackson's social media following skyrocketed after the October 7th attack on Israel.
I've been to Russia, I've been to China. Their major cities are much nicer.
But Jackson had barely started speaking about Gaza.
Now, Russia's better and stronger than ever before, and their leader has a very high approval rating.
Before he launched into pro-Russia and pro-China talking points.
The more America supports real terrorist entities like Israel, real terrorist countries like Ukraine, the more that we strengthen our actual enemies. Most of what is said about Vladimir Putin in the mainstream press is just factually not true.
Jackson has become a darling of the Kremlin and Russian state TV. He's made multiple trips to Russia this year.
We're in Tokmak, which is just a few kilometers away from the front line and back in.
But Jackson wasn't always like this. Just a few years ago, he was a soft-spoken Southern California kid, a Bernie Sanders supporter who even ran for city council as a progressive. Why do you think the Russians like you so much?
I speak truth.
You are, in some ways, the quintessential American man, right? You're a surfer guy, California. So for the Russians or the Chinese to have somebody like you to go over there and basically shit all over America.
No shitting on America. I love this country. I love the people. I just want it to be better.
Is there not a way to do that without having to fly back and forth to Moscow and seem to be embracing authoritarian regimes?
Well, they're far less authoritarian than the United States.
Come on, man.
Ultimately, ultimately, I live in the generation where for the first time there's going to be a lower standard of living than the previous generation. That's not good.
And I mean, I hear all that. You can't genuinely say that people in Russia and people in China have more liberties than people in the United States.
Well, there's no free speech.
You have a lot of free speech.
Really?
You
think
do.
I have free speech?
You don't think you have free speech?
No. I mean, what's the public square today? It's obviously social media.
You have 3 million followers on X. You can post whatever you want. You're hosting events here. How do you not have free speech? What part
it's
of your
very
speech
simple.
is being curtailed?
It's very simple. It's very simple. Yes, I have 3 million followers on X, but what about Instagram? I've been banned. YouTube, I've been banned. I was banned from Raya, a dating site.
Jackson's bans might have something to do with his repeated sharings of hateful posts and his celebrations of violence.
You look like you're in pain.
Whatever his motivations, his message and his propaganda is resonating. I just don't know if I believe you or not.
Guess you'll have to wait and see. I got my whole life ahead of me.
I don't know if you caught this. Years, he's made zero headway in stopping aid to Israel or in even changing minds about Israel. But he has persisted in his lonely, principled campaign against foreign aid. And so because of that, Trump colluded with 3 of his donors, including his biggest, Mary Madelson, to destroy Thomas Massie and to end his career in Congress by beating him in the Republican primary in the 4th District of Kentucky, a place we can bet Mary Madelson has never been to and could not find on a map, and in which she has no real interests. And that makes you wonder, well, why would she and her fellow neocon billionaires spend tens of millions of dollars to kick Thomas Massie out of the Congress? And of course, because Israel. That's it.
Thomas Massie is out, as you all probably know by now. He's not officially out yet. He lost the primary for his congressional seat in Kentucky. He's held that seat for something crazy. Like, it's either like 12 consecutive terms or years or something like that. Every term is 2 years, for those of you who don't know, in Congress, in the House of Representatives, that is. And he lost his primary. So that means that the, quite literally, Israel lobby purchased. He is a slave. He is a dog, this man that just defeated Thomas Massie. He's literally, like a product you could go buy at Costco or something. They just literally said, okay, we want that one, former Navy SEAL. We're going to give him $35 billion, and we're going to buy this congressional seat with him as our conduit. $35 billion. Or for 35 million, right? 35 million, sorry. 35 billion. $35 million. I remember in the 2018 congressional elections, I remember that, like, Orange County, California, where I lived, was like the most contested elections in the country. And Orange County was dependent upon which way, the general consensus of the country was going to be going for Congress. If Orange County went blue, then the rest of the country was going to see like a blue wave. If it did not go blue and it stayed conservative, Republican, red, then, and it's a historically, very conservative set of congressional districts in Orange County. It's like the most.
Okay, I will stop it right there. That's enough of Jackson Hinkle. Good evening. My name is Brian O'Shea. I apologize if there's a lot of background noise. Our air conditioning in this expensive condo in Brooklyn is busted, so I've got like fans running everywhere. It's very hot. But welcome. Thanks. I don't know if you saw what I was doing there with that spread of videos, but what I am trying to kind of show is the similarities, actually almost the collaboration between what is known as MAGA communism, which, yes, they are still a thing, with kind of this libertarian class or self-labeled libertarian class that was supporting Thomas Massie, but beyond Thomas Massie, that seemed to be supporting burning it all down. Okay. And so I kind of showed you a little some historical interviews with one MAGA communism representative interviewing with a Chinese news outlet. Then, of course, Jackson Hinkle's feature on CNN, which is amazingly a good piece. And let's go back to that first video. What the gentleman was saying was basically the MAGA communists, as they call themselves, or the American Communist Party, which is really only a tool for Alexander Dugin, because he helped kind of get it set up. He pretty much has Putin's ear, so that means it's a creation of the Russians, which means it's a creation of the Russians with a lot of Chinese buy-in, targeting working class Americans to, in my opinion, create chaos, to go against everything that's establishment, no matter who's in the White House, to encourage people not to vote. Okay, especially in the wake of Thomas Massie's catastrophic loss in his primaries in Kentucky. And you're seeing it, if you've been following social media, you're seeing it a lot. You're seeing a lot of the Thomas Massie crowd. We'll just stick with that because the name of the segment is I'm sick of Thomas Massie fans, and I really am. But that's what they're saying now. They're saying, oh, Thomas Massie, now that he lost, he's going to release all the names in the Epstein files. It's like, well, I thought he did. Or we're just not going to vote, or we'll vote for Democrats. And, you know, if you don't believe me, it's shocking. I mean, it's one of these things, like, tonight's not really an investigation. It's just, I've got to vent about this because I'm watching these Americans, quote unquote, who seem, they want to call themselves patriot. You have a lot of people called patriot mom and MAGA, I don't know, superhero, whatever these idiotic X profiles are. And they're just, they're not pro-America. I'm sorry, but they're not. I don't know what they are. It's like pro-crybaby or like anti anyone who disagrees with us. Let me give you an example of this. There's another guy named Liberty Lockdown, I think is his name, or Liberty Lockpot. He may have changed his name. This is Liberty Lockpot. So he appeared on another Massie platform, or I almost want to say unwitting MAGA communist platform called Redacted News, which I used to like that show. But listen to what they're saying. And this is, I'm playing this one because it really, really is echoing a lot of what these Massieites, who are really, whether they know it or not, multipolarist Duginites. Listen to what he says here, because we are seeing this everywhere. Let me jump right into that. Okay.
You would consider voting Democrat in order to punish them?
Look, all I'm saying is I will not vote for any conventional GOP at this point. None of them. If you didn't defend Massie, if you're not vocally in support of him, I want nothing to do with you. He represents the Constitution. He represents Ron Paul. He represents the small L libertarians. He represents the founding fathers. He represents two-way and free speech and non-intervention and everything that makes this country great. Everything. So if you couldn't voice support for him, I want nothing to do with you. And just to circle back to your earlier point about the influencer class, this is the other thing I laid out on my show, and I've made this explicit and laid it out in detail in prior episodes of Liberty Lockdown. But the truth is that there are pay-to-post campaigns that are just everywhere. They are everywhere. They're on Instagram, they're on X, they're on TikTok, they're everywhere you can.
Okay, let me just jump in there and say they appear to be one of them. If anyone saw the big Massie kind of neo-Nazi gathering at the Massie House, not all of them were, but that was a campaign, guys. That was literally Massie brought down a bunch of influencers. That seems to be right after they may have signed their contract. Just look at all of the people there and all these big influencers supporting Massie, and you'll see they all started posting about Massie at the same time. Like, I think like May 13th, May 12th, like all at the same time. Some of them go further back, but for the most part. And this guy here is Clinton Russell, who is Liberty. He's the host of Liberty Lockdown. I've actually been on a show with him long ago. My friend Lev's show, Break the Rules. I don't really remember much of what he said, but I used to be a libertarian. Yeah, I used to be a keynote speaker at Students for Liberty. I spoke all over Eastern Europe. Good people. You know, I have nothing bad to say about Students for Liberty. I will say there's a lot of people that seem to migrate towards this title of libertarian because it lets them not take a position. You see what I mean? It lets them kind of follow cults of personality. And they will follow anyone, people like this, kind of like wannabe libertarians, who, you know, like Thomas Massie said what I wanted to hear during COVID. So he's my guy. I mean, never mind the fact that Massie, you know, kind of lied during his campaign. He allegedly, yes, he got behind the Epstein files, but, you know, he wasn't behind the Epstein files the whole time. He also wrote some of the legislation I heard that helped redact those same files. Okay, and that's unconfirmed, but I saw many postings about that. And this is what they want to get behind. Okay, I'm also noticing another pattern is a lot of these people, they used to support RFK Jr. and prior to that they supported DeSantis. It's the same crowd. This same crowd also is echoing what people like Jackson Hinkle are saying, what Alexander Dugin is saying, what the communists I've called out are saying, people like Kim Iverson, Jimmy Dore, Max Blumenthal and his Gray Zone goons. You know, they're anti-anything that puts America first. They truly are. Okay? They're anti-American greatness. I am pro-American greatness. I am pro, unipolar world with America at the top. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be the best and celebrating when you are the best, and we are the best. Okay? And you know why that's important? Because we're not perfect. But if anyone's going to be at the top of the food chain in the world, I'd rather have it be the United States, even in our worst of times, than China, Iran, or Russia. Okay, so that aside. But what I'm noticing is these people like Clint Russell and Shannon Joy and Tucker Carlson and Kim Iverson, Blumenthal, these are anti-establishment people. Okay, and either wittingly or unwittingly, they are trying to pretty much cause chaos, pretty much, tank elections, tank the midterms. We have Trump moving forward. President Trump is doing amazing stuff, and I'm a fan of the results. I'm never a fan of the man. Okay, people ask me all the time, do you trust Trump? Do you trust Rubio? I trust the results, and the results are good. Okay, gas prices are high right now, but that's to be expected. The oil industry worldwide is taking advantage of the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is closed. U.S. has plenty of oil. I won't go into why it's still expensive. It's because it's a global market. It's hard to explain in the short time I have tonight. But the point is, nothing comes easy. Okay, yes, gas prices are going to be high, but even inflation has gone up a little. Okay, and a lot of that has to do with, supply chains, everything like that, because a lot of people can't move their boats as far because a lot of people, not us, rely on oil that comes from the Strait to power their economies. Okay, now a lot of these increases are no bigger than they were. They're like the largest in like maybe 3 or 4 years, but they're not. They are temporary, and I'm sorry, but I'm willing to endure a little pain to secure this world, and this world is being secured by capturing the global energy market, and that's exactly what we're doing. But as these people here will say, I don't want my sons and daughters to go to war in Iran or get drafted. There hasn't been a draft since Vietnam, period. I don't think half these people have sons or daughters. But the point is, no one's even making noise like that in the Department of War. Okay. And we don't need to, because as I've explained in another episode, it's not about conquering Iran. It's about keeping that strait closed. Why? Because now that we are kind of the oil giant of the world with Venezuela's oil, which we control, Venezuela doesn't really control that. We keep all profits from that oil go to us, and then we dole it out to the Venezuelans as we see fit. Okay, so we control that. The Texas refineries were built for the Venezuelan oil, so they were ready to go for years. I mean, the oil infrastructure was stolen from us by Venezuela, and we took it back. But the thing is, it's what a lot of these people are kind of shouting, and they may think it's genuine. They may think they're, fighting the system and, not going to get swept up in, Trump worship, whatever they want to call it. But what they're really doing is they're pushing the agenda of the multipolar powers. And those multipolar powers are Russia and China primarily. Iran, kind of, but there's not really much of Iran. Venezuela, not anymore. Cuba, not so much anymore. But North Korea, to some degree. But the point is, these people, these Massie fans, whatever you want to call them, they're also pushing other agendas. They're also pushing, complete isolationist agendas. Complete non-interventionist agendas. And I'm sorry, but this is a global economy. This is a global world. You cannot be an isolationist in this world. You can try. You won't last long. Okay? It's like going to prison and thinking you'll catch up on your reading if you just stay in your cell. It doesn't work like that. And I think our administration understands that. These people, again, either wittingly or unwittingly, they are just parroting what Alexander Dugin wants them to parrot. So for those of you that don't know what multipolarism is, this is a doctrine that is being pushed primarily by the Russians, which wants the world to be different spheres of influence. So like a North America sphere with the US dominating that, a Eurasian sphere with Russia dominating that, an Asian sphere with China dominating that. A Middle Eastern sphere was supposed to be Iran dominating that, which is funny because they're Persians, not Arabs. And a South American sphere with Venezuela was supposed to dominate that. And then we were all going to stay in our spheres of influence and have good trade and leave each other alone. The problem with that theory is that it would require the United States to cede power, to cede market territory and territory. And it would also create a 3-to-1 type of, 4-to-1 type of world. Iran, Russia, China, Venezuela, if those other two were still really viable. And then us. So you see, that probably wouldn't work out well for us. The doctrine is actually based, it's just kind of a updated version of, it's called the Fourth Political Theory, but by Dugin, but it's actually comes from something called the Primakov Doctrine, which came out of the KGB as a way to weaken America and eventually destroy it by getting us to back into our corner willingly. So that way the rest of the world could become as strong as us, if not stronger. So it's a plan. It's a foolish plan if anyone falls for it. And you could see a lot of the past presidents, even Republican presidents, were going for it. They were doing that kind of managed decline of the West. But what they were doing, they were pulling the West back in terms of our power and reach. We can't do that because it's not like we pull back to our corner and they just leave us alone. They will gang up on us. Most of their grand strategies state as such. So that's where we are. That's why I'm sick of Massie fans, because they're just really annoying. They seem like they're certainly not America first. They seem to be ego first. For people that will say in one breath, people just want to be left alone. Well, the same people are saying, yeah, but we're going to make everyone pay because Massie didn't win. I mean, it's stupid. It's very childish, but it is what it is. But again, they're pushing a foreign agenda, whether they know it or not. And that's why it's important to kind of call this out and highlight it, because it's more than just, you know, a primary in Kentucky. Okay. It's more than just a couple idiotic neo-Nazis like Brian Matta, you know, with their American Reich shirts, and a guy who lives in El Salvador and is running up here to, you know, jump into the fray. It's an extension of foreign policy being used to cause chaos in our country. That's the long and short of it. And the other point I was going to make too is, yeah, I wanted to call out that 35 or 32 million dollars on the primaries, so everyone knows that's the total amount that was put into that election for both sides. Okay, 32 million did not go to what's his name, Ed Gilrain. I'm not sure. Yeah, Ed Gilrain. That didn't all go to Ed Gilrain. Some people online are saying, oh, AIPAC gave Ed Gilrain 32 million. No, that was the entire election. That was the entire race. Yes, a lot of money, but both sides benefited from that vast amount of money. One obviously benefited more than the other. And I pulled some stats on this earlier too, because I wanted to check, because I kept hearing that 32 million. And I'm like, that just doesn't seem correct. And yeah, here we go. So basically, if you boil it down, so yeah, Thomas Massie, he had, his total receipts were 5.5 million. Those were 98% were individual contributions. And then he also received, let me see, additional stuff from PACs and everything like that. So, where'd my chart go here? Okay, here we go. I was trying to, you know, get this from the FCC earlier. Okay, so yeah, this is really interesting. So this is from Ballotpedia. If you look at just the non-PAC money, okay, candidates' own campaign committees, you know, excluding super PACs and PACs, okay, which altogether totaled 32 million. But according to the latest pre-primary Federal Election Commission data, back in, the latest goes back in April 29th, 2026, Tom Massie's campaign raised 5.5 million and spent 5.8 billion in disbursements, and still had cash on hand of 608. This is as of April, 608,000. Ed Gilrain's campaign raised 3.1 million. This is excluding super PACs and the PACs. Total spent 2.6. Cash on hand at the time was 543,000. Okay. Now, if you go to the PACs, all right, you know, what was spent there? Get to that. Okay. So what happened with that race was, yes, a lot of money came in from pro-Israel PACs and super PACs to pay for ads, pay for things like that. That money didn't go directly to Ed Gilrain, but, you know, it's apples and oranges. I get it. If someone's picking up expenses, it certainly helps. But I guess my problem with people complaining about that, and, you know, and saying, oh, AIPAC should register with FARA. Why? They're a domestic PAC. They actually are a domestic PAC. Granted, a lot of people in that PAC may come from Israel or are Jewish Americans with strong leanings towards Israel, or maybe even dual citizens, but they're still an American PAC. Okay, so we don't start breaking the rules because people don't like which way a primary went. So my thing with that is, like, I mean, what did the Massie people expect organizations like AIPAC would do? I mean, come on. For the last 3 years, there's been a avalanche of anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, more than anti-Zionist, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, beyond, I would even say rhetoric. I mean, attacks against Jewish Americans, okay, and against Israel from all sides, but beyond Israel, against Jewish Americans. What did they expect someone like AIPAC to do? Not go against the candidate who was surrounding himself with people who hate Jewish people and hate Israel? Of course, they're going to spend money to protect their interests. Their interests are not only Israel as an ally in the Middle East, because they are a great ally in the Middle East, but their own safety. I mean, it's like people act like, some people even believe, like Dan Blazarian, that roided out weird guy with the freaking weird mullet mohawk. They act like, they actually, some of these people will actually say the Holocaust didn't happen. And then they'll say anti-Semitism is a myth while doing anti-Semitic things. So the point is, like, okay, let's say for the sake of argument that AIPAC gave Ed Gilrain $32 million for a campaign. They didn't, but let's say they did. I mean, they're probably thinking that's money well spent, because what a nightmare to have a congressman stay in power who's surrounding himself with people with very, very outspoken and violent rhetoric towards Jews. I don't blame them at all. What's funny, though, is these same people don't seem to be calling out CARE or any of the pro-Hamas super PACs and PACs who are going beyond getting congressmen elected. They're taking over towns, and they are trying to get Sharia law to be a law in places like Texas. I don't hear much on that. Okay, I don't hear much from these people on that. Their boogeyman, for whatever reason, is the Jews, and apparently Massie was their champion against them. And I was disappointed with Massie that he took, he jumped on that train, and even in his concession speech, he made the, I can't find Gilrain, he's in Tel Aviv, ha ha ha, it's like, what? Okay, whatever, man. I mean, so you get the point. So what seems to be happening here is this class, the anti-establishment class of conservatives, people that we were all aligned with during COVID because we had a common enemy, are really showing their true colors. And their true colors are really, they go beyond libertarianism to me. They go towards that extreme form of libertarianism, which I see as anarchism. And this is dangerous. This is dangerous stuff here. But let's listen to the rest of this, then I'm going to take your comments. I don't really have a thesis tonight. I'll just say, like, I just can't stand it. I can't stand the whining and the moaning. And it's, and Massey's saying, oh, I'm going to show you, it's so stupid. Like, and he should know that, like, dude, it didn't play well with, your district. Do you think it's going to play well with the rest of America? And I'll have some comments on that. I made some comments with my wife, Naomi Wolf, on our show in the Lair the other day. Is I kind of think Massie got played, but we could get into that in a second.
Can possibly imagine. So when people think about how elections get bought and presidents get bought and congressional and Senate seats get bought, they oftentimes stop there. Or maybe they'll even go to corporate news is bought, right? But they stop there. They still think that there is organic stuff happening. And there is some organic stuff happening, but they still think that there is organic opinions being generated from the highest level of the scare quotes independent media. These people are not independent. A good example of this is Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh was vocally in support of Thomas Massie for a very long time. And then when the rubber meets the road, when Trump has laid down the gauntlet, when Miriam Adel...
I'll jump in there and say, my wife was very pro-Massie until he started surrounding himself with people that seem to hate Jewish people. Matt Walsh works for the Daily Wire, which is owned by Jewish people. So these people want it to seem like, oh, they were scared of Trump, so they turned against Massie. No. Everyone I've talked to, and it's anecdotal, I get it, but the anti-Semitism thing, is not a good thing to run on, because A, it's all built on lies. Some of these morons are still quoting the elders of Zion, the czarist propaganda from the early 1900s. I mean, and it's racism. And racism is normally propagated by stupid people. I'm sorry, but it is. Or really smart, manipulative people. But the point is, like, these people all want it to sound like, oh, Trump, everyone's scared of Trump, or they're so blinded by their loyalty to Trump that they turned against Massie, who's the one real liberator, blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, dude. Be real. And he's going on and making it sound like Massie doesn't have a paid army of influencers. I'm just kind of pointing out the hypocrisy here. It drives me nuts. Sick of Massie fans.
Wilson has her attack dogs circling him like a fallen child in the Epstein network. Where is Matt Walsh? Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
He toes the company line. He starts to sound exactly like Ben Shapiro. Michael Knowles does the same thing. These people
All
are
of
frauds.
TPUSA. Yeah, they're not trying to carry on Charlie's legacy. Charlie was in line with Thomas Massie, a great supporter of independent
His favorite
thought.
congressman.
Yeah. And so where were those guys? I mean, if you need any other proof that TPUSA is not a grassroots movement, is not independent thinking, is neither of those things, it's really disappointing. But
well, don't you hate when people say, I told you so? It's me, actually, because I did tell you. Sorry. But
He's just going to do his ad because they just do the ads as a charity, not because they're not funded. Okay, so you get the point. Let's take your comments here. And by the way, we do have some good cases we're working on. This tonight is just to get in here and kind of vent. I was watching Family Guy, and that's a great episode where he had a show called What Really Grinds His Gears, and I was thinking, maybe I need to do just a night of grinding my gears. So, all right, let's go into it. Hello to you. This came in about an hour ago. Sorry, but thank you. Thanks for being here. Chino4549, hello. Maggie communism, Jackson H, is it still a thing? Yeah, it's a thing because a lot of people don't realize the influence that like Hinkle has over a lot of Rumble channels. Like Kim Iverson's bought into this, Jimmy Dore's bought into this, and look, people who normally come to this show or can think, they see right through it. But a lot of outlets that they say they're America first and they're patriots. They're really not. They're just puppets, sock puppets for ultimately the Dugin type of messaging. And by the way, Dugin and even Putin to some degree, they're not really communists. They just use communism to subjugate masses and kind of bring them together to act as a mob to carry out their ends. They're multipolarists and they're opportunists and they're ultra-nationalists too. So, keep that in mind. Most communist leaders, even Xi Jinping, they're not really communists through and through. I mean, Xi Jinping's net worth is insane. His father's grave is the size of like the town I live in. These are not real communists, but and you heard the guy, I forgot his name, the MAGA communist in the beginning, talking about how they target the working class. They target the libertarians. They target the people that are anti-establishment. And you see it happening right now. I think the blessing of the Massie debacle, because I'm sorry, Massie, I mean, he's an incumbent of 12 years and he lost a primary by like over 10 points. That's 10 percentage points. That's shameful. Okay, it's shameful. And you can say, oh, the Israelis bought the election or AIPAC bought the election. Maybe they paid for ads, but it seems like the Gilrain camp kind of understood who votes in primaries, whereas the Massie camp, they seem to put all their eggs in the online Twitter basket or X basket, the Rumble basket, the podcast bro basket. Most people voting in that district, which is one of the reddest county areas in the country, they're really, really hardcore Trump supporters, and a vast majority of them are in favor of our alliance with Israel, as am I. What a tarch. I trust she's not talking about me. I love music. Welcome to the show. I'm guessing you're talking about 1023, probably talking about Jackson Hinkle. I hope. Okay, and yep, I feel your pain. Hello, I love music. Hello back to you, and thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it. I stopped watching Redacted. I don't blame you. Brian, did Tulsi quit or was she asked to leave? You know, guys, as far as I can tell with the Tulsi Gabbard thing, I mean, her husband's really sick, like really sick. That has not been, I haven't looked into it that deeply, but in my opinion, from everything I saw, it seems like he's really sick. And if you've ever had a spouse or a parent who is really sick, or God forbid, a son or a daughter, nothing else matters. So I'm not going to just say, you know, for sure I'm right, but from everything I've seen, it seems pretty legit that her husband's seriously sick. And look, if he's not, which I have no reason to doubt what she said, you know, of course that's going to be found out. Okay, but I could also see from the way the rest of the cabinet and the rest of the administration reacted, they're very kind letters, supportive letters. It seems pretty genuine. So I think she left for her husband's sake, you know, and it's because with certain cancers, if, you know, that's actually going on, I have no reason to doubt it is. It could be a month, it could be a year, it could be forever. Maybe it'll get cured. But it's horrible. It's all encompassing. So right now, I'll say I'm probably not going to look into it too deeply because it just not enough hours in the day. But if anyone wants to, regardless of what you find out, I'm happy to feature it or you on the show to tell us what you found, as long as it's well sourced. And I do kind of a pre-interview to make sure you're not like a psychopath before you come on. But not you. I love music, but you know what I'm saying. All right. This guy is a whiny little bitch. Yeah, he is totally. Yeah, and you're talking about the Liberty lockdown. Yeah, man. It's like, yeah, I hear you. It's like, and also the camera angle, bro. Like the camera angle is like, obviously he wants us to see his view, but it makes his head look giant and the rest of his body looks small. It's terrible. And you know, libertarian is kind of like, you're supposed to be like live and let live. You know what I mean? Like their symbol is a porcupine. Okay, and the official symbol of libertarians is a porcupine, because porcupines are kind of, you know, live and let live. But if you mess with them, you're going to get those spines. They even have a really great festival, which I highly recommend, up in New Hampshire every year around this time, I believe. Coming up in June, I believe. It's called Pork Fest for porcupine. And it's a great time. We've gone to it twice. I love it. You can even carry, you can open carry, you know, on the fairgrounds. It's wonderful. And they have big bonfires, and they have piles of axes, so you can do axe throwing as you're passing by. I mean, it's definitely worth it. I mean, it's kind of like, it reminded me of like eco hippies with guns, because they also have a contest to see who could be the most off the grid with solar power. And it's kind of a cool, I really like legit libertarians, but legit libertarians will never tell you you're wrong for not agreeing with them. See, that's the difference. That's how you can tell a real libertarian. A real libertarian will be like, well, I went this way, you went that way, but okay, you know, that's your right. You know, I'm not going to tell you what to do because I'm a libertarian. The problem libertarians have is definition. Like, they can't really define themselves because they're libertarian and they don't want to have labels. So it's tough, but there's really good libertarians out there. But a true libertarian really they want government to protect the borders, to police, to, you know, put bad people in jail, put out fires, that sort of thing. And it's not like they're isolationists. They're just kind of, they don't really get involved in pushing policy one way or another, because that would be a contradiction of who they are. So just keep that in mind. I highly encourage everyone to learn a lot about libertarians. It's tough, but I'll put it this way: they're big fans of Ayn Rand. I'm a big fan of Ayn Rand, so. But yeah, meet some libertarians. Best way to do that is go up to that pork fest. It's a good time. It's a really good time. I'm glad I thought about it, because if I have time, I want to get back up there. That was fun. And again, I used to be a libertarian, but not anymore. Not since COVID, because I kind of will. It's hard because they're libertarians. I didn't expect them to intervene, but I kind of wanted them to, because the government was very hands-on, and they shouldn't have been pushing those hands off. I just didn't see a lot of that. So, one faith of Jesus. Jesus is the truth. Seek the true Jesus in the New Testament. Well, I'm not going to get to a religious thing here, but I like to seek God in all of the written words, especially the Old Testament. Just me, and I'm Catholic. But welcome, One Faith Jesus. Love having you. Love hearing about what you're thinking about, and keep it coming. Definitely. Oh, and if you ever get a chance, I do want to, I'm not a religious scholar by no means, but I am fascinated by what is going on in Ezekiel with these kind of alien sounding things. I was actually at Chabad this past week, and I love going to Chabad. My wife is Jewish. Love the Chabad community. I mean, I hate to tell Tucker Carlson this, but no, they don't levitate and cast evil spells and eat children. It's like Sunday school with adults and kids. I think the most sinful thing we did was have that second piece of strawberry shortcake, which some sweet old lady from Russia made, But yeah, anyways, I was at Chabad, and the Torah is pretty much the Old Testament. Okay, don't quote me on that, because my wife always corrects me. It's something else, but it's basically the Old Testament and the Torah are very much the same thing, I believe, if I'm saying that right. And I've never really read that much Bible, so man, I was reading this part about Ezekiel about these things that appeared in the wheel. I'm like, man, this is good reading, but what the hell is going on? Like, and maybe I had UFOs on the mind, I don't know. But so if anyone has any insight into that, I'd love to learn more about it, or maybe you could point me to some text to read, because I'm very fascinated by that. Blue Wolf, boom, love the Blue Wolf. This is one of the best people. Always here. Great to see you too, man. Great to see you too. Okay, here we go. Jesus is the only safe leader to follow, and very few men professing Jesus actually follow that man, Christ Jesus. Okay, I hear you. I'm not putting you off. You should really check out my wife's show, the Geneva Bible readings. Go to dailyclout.io. Definitely, probably a better place for that. It's welcome here. It's just not what we're talking about. So I'm going to get Gnostic Informer on here. Fingers crossed. He's a great guy. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. So Zionism wouldn't exist if Jesus would have received the honor he deserves. Yeah, okay. We're done. All right, 100%. And you dishonor the Son. Wait, okay. I always read everyone's comments. You dishonor the God who sent him. Okay, every man has his opinion. 100%. Okay, I'm sorry, One Faith Jesus. You're kind of like spamming my site, so I'm going to skip past your comments. Here we go. Hey, Ben Houlihan, welcome. Hey, good to see you very much. Thank you very much. I'm still pro-Palestine a little bit, but with this Tommy Massie propaganda and his libertarian anco that libertarians are doing now online is, and I don't even want to call them libertarians. I really don't. I know a lot of good libertarians, and I'd encourage everyone to check out Students for Liberty. I love that organization. But who's to say what a libertarian is, because they don't really have a definition. I mean, there's many. I mean, there's even like a nudist version of libertarians, and at the Pork Fest, they actually have a nudist area that the organizers of the event very kindly asked them, and they complied very kindly, to put up like a barrier because there's like kids and stuff around, and they were cool with it. They're like, okay, it'll be like an adults only area, but apparently there's like a nudist colony there too. So I didn't go in there, but yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I can't not call them libertarians, but they're not acting like libertarians because they're trying to actually change government in a way that suits them, whereas a libertarian would just want government to be hands off. I mean, how can Laura Luma destroy Thomas Massie, beginning their ex-girlfriend? Basically, they got them on several things, and she should be deported. Do you mean deported? Disport? I don't. Can you just make sure you check your spelling? If anyone says Laura Loomer should be deported, that's just idiocy. She's an American citizen. And by the way, I like Laura Loomer. I think she does. Her and her team do great work. And it's politics. And she kind of gave a big kind of diatribe on that the other day. Like, she wants to win. She has her team. She's very vocal about her team. She's a player. People might say it's unfair for her to attack him here, but it's politics. She understands it, and she's a killer, and that's what she does. And I respect that about her, and she's the first to admit it. She called herself a killer. Politically, it's, not literally. But the point is, like, that's what politics is. Unfortunately, but that's always been what politics is. And she's in it to win it, and I respect that. I really do. And they bring the receipts. I mean, I'm sorry, but they do. I think Thomas Massie made some big mistakes. And he was even trying to placate, like, the Trump supporters in the end. I don't know if you guys saw the TV ad. I'll try to pull it up. But he was like, me and Donald Trump have a lot more in common than people realize. It was like in the, 11th hour. It was kind of bootlicky. It was kind of pathetic. But no, I think he fell in love with the celebrity of being this folk hero, and I think it bit him. I think he didn't realize who controlled that vote, and that's the voters of Kentucky. And I feel like he got in with the wrong crowd, man. I really do. Because it's not trending on, it hasn't trended on Twitter in like some years, so influencers don't talk about it. You ever notice that's when I was first getting into this? Yeah. When I was first getting into YouTube, 2012, they used to talk about care stuff and like that of an influencer. Influencers don't talk about it because it doesn't trend on Twitter. Yeah, actually, you bring up a good point. And Kaiwan, I hope you don't mind, but for everyone else, Kaiwan uses a machine to help get her words out there. So there might be some stuff jumbled together, but that's been explained to me, and so I get what you're saying totally. I understand you. So that's kind of my point. What I was saying is, like, Twitter is big, but just I dare anyone to walk into the street in any city and ask 10 people what their Twitter handle is. Most people don't have one. Most people are on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. And again, Twitter's important, or X, but it seems like the people that seem like they vote are not getting their news from X. And I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, my account was hacked about 6 weeks ago, and it was taken over by a Nigerian scammer. And I'm not profiling, like, they contacted me from a Nigerian number and said, hey, I hijack people's accounts and then I release them for small amounts of money. How does $200 sound? I was like, I'll get it back another way, and I did. But the point is that I was really off Twitter, or X, for a good week, and I happened to be visiting my incredibly awesome mother-in-law with my incredibly awesome wife in Oregon, and I couldn't be on Twitter. I mean, I had a small account for emergencies, but suddenly I was not in the fray. I'm not a huge account, but I'm a respectable, 49 or 46, I forgot, 1,000 followers. And it's like, suddenly I didn't really have a reason to be on there, except to yell at Elon Musk to open my account. And it was kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, it was kind of nice. I love people I've met on X, and we've made some good friends on X, but it's really become a pit of kind of hatred, and and just everything is about like, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar, you're a liar. And it's just so, it's kind of gotten boring. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just boring. Every space is the same. Everything is like, these people suck because of this. Well, these people suck because of this. And, the left is not immune to it, because X is pretty much a conservative thing now. But you go over to Blue Sky, which is like the equivalent of X, and it's the same thing. Everyone on Blue Sky is like, F you, F you. They all hate each other. It's just like X. Everyone hates each other, but they also hate those people. But they seem to hate each other more. It's like we have this shift in this country where conservatives seem to hate other conservatives more than they hate the left. They're not even talking about the left. They're not even talking about our real enemies who really, really want to destroy us. They're not talking about the fact that Trump's had like 6 assassination attempts at this point. They're not talking about the fact that Gavin Newsom allowed GKN, I think it is GKN Aeronautics, to have a giant chemical storage facility pass inspections, get violations since 2012, and no one's ever enforced them. And they had a crack appear and start spilling this chemical that is used to make the resin that they make fighter jet like windshields and stuff out of, which if it ignites, if it hits a certain temperature, it becomes a big foggy gas ball, which is highly flammable. It could light from static and wipe out that town around it. Like, but they're still operating. And I was calling some people, and I tried to reach out to the law firm who's suing them. And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. How did a crack appear? They said, well, they had gummy valves for checking the pressure. How'd the valves get gummy? Didn't someone detect that there's gummy valves, whatever that means? Like, at what point do you say, hey, maybe we should go check the tank because the valves clearly don't work? And I didn't know those tanks, if you guys know what I'm talking about, in Orange County, there's still a catastrophe, like this huge chemical plant could blow up, and it could be like a hydrogen bomb. And there's a surrounding community, like right in its backyard. And no one seems to be talking about the fact that the company that owns it has gotten away with tons of violations for safety. And it's never seems to be enforced. And it's all controlled by the Orange County Fire Administration and OSHA, but the California OSHA. Like, I can't believe we declared it a federal emergency, because that means Gavin Newsom's going to get funds. I mean, I get it. You don't want that fireball to happen and kill Americans. But my God, man, like, why aren't these same people, these redacted news and Tucker, why aren't they talking about that? Like, that's a crime. People need to go to jail. Why was a neighborhood allowed to be put right around this horribly dangerous chemical factory? Like, this is terrible. Like, why isn't anyone talking about that? Or, why is nobody talking about the fact that Filipino Coast Guard are still facing down, like, Chinese destroyers in the South China Sea? The Philippines is our ally. We have a treaty with them where we are supposed to intervene. No one's talking about that. We are intervening now, thanks to the help of the Indians, who are getting discounted Venezuelan oil and have agreed to increase their presence in the South China Sea as a result of that cheaper Venezuelan oil, which they've increased to 40% imports in the last 2 months. But you're welcome, India. But and thank you. But the point is, like, these are important things. These are important things. But like, these Massie fans are just so focused on, like, they're so inwardly focused. Like, these are the kind of people, they'd be like the ones in Game of Thrones, fighting over this throne, fighting over that throne. Meanwhile, the White Walkers are taking over the whole world. You see what I mean? It's like, that's what drives me crazy about them. It's like, there's a big world out there full of enemies, and you're worried about this? Okay, and I'm sorry, but it's not that important. One congressional race is not that important. It's not. And you lost. So get back on the team. You know what I mean? Get back on the team. And I'll say a lot of us, when no matter which president won, we're mad, but then we say, okay, it's still America. Let's see what we can do to help. That's how it should be. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing, oh, Massie should burn it all down because it's going to go our way. It's so stupid. And it's so short-sighted. And in the end, it's like, if the ship goes down, we're all on it. And to say you want to throw elections and get people not to vote and get in with a idiot MAGA communists like Jackson Hinkle, that's just dumb, because they'll come for you too. That's a rant. Sorry. All right. Actually, guys, I always have a lot to say, but I gotta say answering your comments is my favorite. If Scott Chrysler, you can't get somebody, Scott Presser, to walk away and everybody else do what he does. That's how Republicans are going to keep this in 2026. Yeah, no, boots on the ground. Totally agree with you. I think Scott Presser, the persistence, he did a great job in Pennsylvania and many, many other states. You're right. That's the kind of stuff we need. And it's important that you say that, because you got to get offline. You got to get out there. You got to go state to state and see what's really going on. We just went to a Princeton graduation this past weekend. And there's a lot going on in that I won't talk about now, but like, people forget, like, there's institutions out there that want the power back, and they're not stopping. They don't give a shit about Thomas Massie. Okay. They don't give a shit about AIPAC. Okay. What they care about is getting power back. And no, these are not America First or Republicans or even conservative left. These are the left-wing communists. Okay, so you see what's happening. You got communists on our right, communists on our left, and we're stuck in the middle with each other. So, all right, wasn't Dave Smith able to collect a lot of money from people that wanted to donate for him? I wanted to donate from him and his states. Whatever happened to the Dave Smith? Well, that's a good point. I didn't know that. I don't like Dave Smith. I think he's kind of a blowhard. But if he collected money on advertising as for Thomas Massie, then I think it's a fair question to find out what happened to that money. Absolutely. Deed to Tudor. I watched Redacted and I respect Thomas Massie. So watch all you. I'm not telling you not to watch it. And one thing you may notice about this show, I never tell you what to do. Like, I tell you my opinion, but that's my opinion. You have your opinion. If you enjoy Redacted News, by all means. Every now and then there's an episode I like. They're talking about something I'm interested in. It's America, yo. So watch Redacted and like Thomas Massie. That's totally your right. I don't. That's my right too. So you don't have to say so there. I mean, come on. What are we? 13? Come on. And by the way, welcome to the show. No offense, but Charlie Kirk didn't support Curtis Siwa. He won. He didn't support populist candidate. Basically, you only supported the most nationalistic. I only support nationalistic candidates. America First. I don't know if you're talking about me or Charlie, but Curtis Siwa, I mean, I'm in New York. I don't know if you are as well, but I mean, not a fan. He was kind of like anti-gun and things like that. And I just don't think I don't think we had any really good candidates for that last mayoral race. We had a communist, a guy who committed eldercide geriatricide or whatever, geriatricide, and a guy wearing a beret. I mean, I didn't really like any of the candidates. It wasn't good. I mean, I don't think Mondami so much won the race as there was really no competition, in my opinion. There's just no oppositional ground game in New York. And I got to give it to the DSA, the communists that kind of supported Mondami. They've got a good ground game. A lot of volunteers. Not all of them are paid. They have the DSA. It's a massive organization. It's growing fast, and they're all communists. I mean, one thing about the communists is they're really disciplined and they really work well as a movement. And they are very much like the White Walkers I was mentioning on Game of Thrones. They are relentless. And I would recommend anyone go to the DSA website, Democratic Socialists of America, who, by the way, are not Democrats, they're communists, and see the organization there. Like, they cover everything. They've got childcare for people who want to get out there and hand out flyers. They have free karate lessons. They have coffee with comrades. They have 5Ks. They have a whole lifestyle there. It's, I think, what Charlie Kirk was trying to do with TPUSA before he was killed. TPUSA is nothing like that anymore. I mean, I'm not a big fan of TPUSA right now. It just seems like another, big organization that's very impersonal to me. But check out what DSA is doing, and I don't know, maybe some of us could, figure out a way to do that to get the right candidates in, because that's what wins elections, is people knowing a face and a name and snapshots and sound bites. And they had a good ground game. No one else had a good ground game. I met Siwa. He was at several events with the Republican club I hang out with in Brooklyn. Nice guy, but I still don't know what his positions were, and it's just, they just weren't out there enough. I mean, Siwa, he's out there on the street, I get it, but they have to incorporate more of that youth energy and technical know-how to really get it out there. And I just didn't see that a lot. My friend Jimmy, who runs that club, great. He's awesome. He's out there all the time, but he needs more people like him who are out there. Mandami, that's a machine. It's not about Mandami. These other two candidates are running against a machine called the DSA. All right. And then one more. Real communists in America don't even believe that China... I mean, there's no real true communist country. That's what several people were telling me that are more like Trevor Loudon was telling me that. But communism is never about what it professes to be. Communism, in my opinion, is just a modern form of slavery. You get these masses to believe in these pipe dreams of, like Mandami's promising, and what they're doing is they're just stripping the people of their humanity and their individualism. And when you take that away from people, you're taking away what makes us human. The Nazis took away the body and they took away your mortality. They killed you. Okay, and that's horrible. Communists do worse, in my opinion. They kill the body, but they also target the soul first. And that's why it seems truly evil to me. I mean, yes, fascism and the Nazis truly evil as well, but communism is just this kind of slow creep that globalized before there was technology, and it plays on the 7 deadly sins: sloth, envy, rage, gluttony. Help me out here, but basically it seems to play on the envy. Did I say that one already? It seems to play on the 7 deadly sins. It seems to use 7 deadly sins and exploit them and get those to fire up in people. Because if you look at every communist movement, it's always about what they have that we don't have. Never mind how they got it. It's always about that. And communists never win because they defeat each other. And that's the thing. Like, there is no utopia. It's a lie. But it's a modern form of slavery, because if it's truly communist, they would truly be having committee meetings for everything. Do you think they're having committee meetings in China? Kind of. I mean, there's the NPC, the National People's Congress, but they have no power. It's the Central Committee, and at the top of it, it's Xi Jinping, because he is now chairman for life, which is like being the emperor for life. So there is no true communism. There's none in North Korea. There was certainly none in Venezuela. There's not any in Cuba. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's communism, just, it murders the soul. That's why it has to be stopped at every turn. Going back to the original point, these Massie fans are flirting with creating a chaos, creating an anarchy that eventually allows communism to take over. This is what happened in Hungary in the 1950s. Stalin, the Soviet Union sent in so many agents provocateur into Hungary just to cause chaos in the very same way we're seeing it now. And it got so chaotic in Hungary that the kind of people in between, the regular people, were just like, oh my God, please just someone make it stop. We'll take anyone. And that's when the communist tanks rolled in. Bye-bye, Hungary. Okay, so I see that happening, or attempts to make that happen are happening here in America. A lot of it is coming from people who claim to be MAGA and America First, but they're not. Okay, they're chaos agents, whether they know it or not, and they're fulfilling their own egos. And it'll be too late for them when their show gets shut down because they don't have a right to have that show anymore. So that's why I'm sick of Thomas Massie fans. Not to mention, as I Love Music 1 said earlier, they are whiny bitches. So with that, I'm going to leave you for the night. But before I do, I just want to talk about our sponsors. One of our sponsors that I love these guys for a long time, and they are friends of mine, is the Wellness Company. I got the ticker going on the bottom right there. And just so you know, the way sponsorship works is it basically, we get paid to promote their products. And that's how we can afford our streaming platform and our website and, some of our contributors. I'm the boss's husband, so I'm not really an expense. I'm just sweat labor, but I love doing the show because of you guys. But I just want to explain that because, I've heard a lot of comments. People say, oh, you're just reading a script. Yeah, sometimes we are reading a script. But one thing is, I've tried all these products, especially the Wellness Company. If you followed me long enough to know, you would know that, like, the Wellness Company, I've got all their kits, everything. I know the CEO. They're great people. They're really great people. Harvey Risch, one of their chief medical officers, is a very good friend of mine and Naomi's. He had us over to his house for dinner for the Seder supper recently, which was wonderful. So just good people. Okay. And, but they have this new thing going on that they're kind of doing some groundbreaking stuff with existing medications that you and I both know well. So I have some notes here, but when credible doctors start paying attention to repurposed medications, it's worth asking why. Dr. Harvey Risch, my good friend, former professor of epidemiology at Yale and now serving on the president's cancer panel, is helping lead that conversation. A new groundbreaking observational study from the Wellness Company analyzed off-label use of ivermectin and mebendazole in nearly 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across cancers like breast, prostate, lung, and colon. And the results are hard to ignore. After 6 months, 84% of patients experienced clinical benefits, including stabilizing of the disease, actual tumor regression, and no evidence of the disease in some cases. In some cases, it actually cured cancer. These existing medications that any of us can buy. This is not lab data. This is real-world patient experience. Dr. Risch, chief epidemiologist at the Wellness Company, called it an exciting signal. He's being careful, deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower-cost cancer care options. That is why the Wellness Company makes it easy to access ivermectin and mebendazole. I've really got to figure out that pronunciation. MEBENDAZOLE formula, using medications that are FDA approved and for other indications and are being studied for the additional use. It is doctor prescribed and USA compounded, meaning mixed right here in the USA into that facility, designed to support patients exploring these emerging approaches under medical guidance. Ordering is simple and fully digital. Just fill out the quick intake form and a licensed doctor reviews it, and your prescription ships directly to your door. We've done this. It's great. Head to dailycloudhealth.com and use code DailyClout to save up to $60 plus free shipping. And these kits are amazing. The kit they're talking about is the blue kit, and they even have tons of doxycycline that comes in that. If you've been following the news on ticks, there's never been a better time to have doxycycline. Now I know there's other online like pharmacies and stuff. The wellness company's not a pharmacy. Okay, they have prescriptions, but what the wellness company is they're a provider of medicines, of course, but also things you need that normally you have to go to a doctor and get an appointment and get one little pill and all that. And they provided all of these kits, emergency contagion kits, the first aid kits they're just amazing, and they're worth the money because you always have them. And they have real doctors, like really good doctors. And one thing I love about the wellness company, you know where this stuff is coming from. There's another one that's pretty popular, advertised on Dan Bongino and Liz Wheeler, this other company that, their ivermectin comes from China. Don't take my word for it. It's on their certificate of analysis they tried to bury. So yeah, there's other more popular options, might even be a little cheaper. But it's your body. You might want to have, I don't know, the former, epidemiology like guru at Yale, who was also kind of sidelined during COVID because he had common sense approaches. Or the wellness company in general, who has people like Peter McCullough, who's always had the alternative ways to use existing medicine to cure things like even COVID. So check them out. Again, that is dailyclouthealth.com. Use the code DailyClout and you will get $60 off and free shipping. They also have great customer support. And if you talk to someone, just tell them Brian O'Shea at Investigate Everything. Cannot stop bragging about the wellness company enough. I love this company. They're a great sponsor. And honestly, I was promoting their product before they were a sponsor. So just keep that in mind. So sorry, guys, just trying to close this window. So check them out. Let me know what you think if you get it. Send me a picture. Put it on social media holding up your kit. And then our other sponsor, as soon as I can find I'm sorry, guys, I'm on a Mac, so sometimes it takes me a while to find things. Give me just a second here. But yeah, so check them out. Tell me what you think. I want to hear your thoughts. Love the wellness company. Okay, there we go. All right. Now, our other sponsor is the My Primal Life. Now, these guys this is a really cool thing, and you definitely have to check out their website. Let me put up the scroller. They have a really cool video on there too that I've watched a few times, especially if you like history. Here we go. So you've probably heard the headlines now. RFK Jr.'s pharma audit team has been digging in some uncomfortable questions about common medications, including claims about Tylenol and neurological development. Now, regardless of where you land on that debate, here's the part that should make everyone pause. Multiple studies have raised concerns about acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, and its effect on something called glutathione. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. It protects your cells, your brain, and your nervous system from damage. And when glutathione levels drop, your nerves, they just don't fire the same way they should. Signals weaken, repairs slow down. That's when people start feeling the burning, tingling, numbness. Now, I'm over 50, so I worry about these things. I think anyone at any age should worry about these things, especially if you took the vaccine. I hope you didn't. But that's when people start feeling those symptoms. It's the kind of nerve pain that quietly takes over your daily life. And give me a thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. And here's the bigger issue. Tylenol isn't the only thing that drains these antioxidants from your body. Ultra-processed food, environmental toxins, chemicals in hygiene products, definitely a lot of those, and plastics that we use every day. Like, for instance, don't use one of those plastic body buffs in the tub. Really bad for you. And it adds up. It all adds up. And most solutions for nerve pain, pills, cream, TENS machines, and so on. Then they really just mask the pain, but they don't replace what your nerves are actually missing. The good news, there is specific minerals naturally occurring from Earth to help restore the process. I have to increase, there we go, I gotta increase my font size here because I can't see it. So, but basically, you know, they mask them and, you know, they give you creams. They don't fix the solution. They just try to mask it. The good news is the minerals, the stuff that My Primal Life is promoting, these things are from the earth. They're just minerals that, like, you could actually read about these things on NIH. These were discovered a long time ago. They're just not advertised. My Primal Life figured out a way to put them all together to kind of regenerate. It's kind of like watering plants that need water. That's what your nerves are like. Without these minerals, they start to shrivel and they get kind of brittle. That's why they're not firing, because as things shrivel, they shrink. And that little synapse that lets your cells fire is further apart it is, the more brain fog you're going to have, everything like that. And the more painful too, like brittle, anything is painful. So there are specific minerals naturally occurring straight from Earth that help restore the nerve strength, protect nerve cells, and calm constant buzzing, burning, and numbness. Scan the QR code here. Yes, it worked. Scan the QR code here, or go to My Primal Life Investigate Nerve, scrolling at the bottom there, to find out exactly what those minerals are and how they work, and why some people call them the miracle grow for your nerves. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, I just still gave away the video. Because your nerves get because when your nerves get what they need, they don't just calm down, they power back up. And again, think of nerves like plants, right? If they're depleted of vital minerals and in the right format and the right combination, they will shrivel, they do get brittle, they do get smaller. And that's where a lot of the movement problems people have as they get older happens, because a lot of things our bodies make when we're young, they stop making as we get older. And that's why supplements are important, but natural supplements. And what's terrible is that if you really, definitely go check out the video, tell me what you think, or read, there's a PDF if you want to skip the video, it's worth it. It's free. They're not going to ask for a credit card or anything like that. But start there and start thinking about your symptoms. Like, I've started taking these things, not that I needed them. I just wanted to see what effect, because I'm promoting them and I want to make sure they work. And I got to say, the energy levels, the brain fog is gone. I mean, I'm just connecting things a lot easier than I used to, like analytically. And so, you know, it could be the placebo effect, but I can say it's a marked difference since I started taking these things from My Primal Life. So check it out. It's myprimal.life /investigate nerve, which I really appreciate that they customized it to my show. That's really nice. I'm just kind of smiling. But a really great company. Definitely get the information at a minimum. And if you are over a certain age and you're starting to feel things, might be a little painful, might be a little foggy, might not be firing on all cylinders, you definitely want to at least hear what they have to say. So again, one more time, go to myprimal.life /investigate nerve. Tell them Brian sent you, and if you get it, just, let us, share with us what's happening. If it's working, things are working out for you, you're going to get a lot out of it. So that is it for the sponsors. Let me take down the QR code there. And I got 3 more comments, so let's do it. Okay, so they don't read the words of America First and the idea of national defense. That's in Tucker being a Tea Party, joined the Tea Party movement, by the way. I know the founder of the Tea Party movement. It's, look, here's my thing. I'm America First, and I'm all for populism. I'm definitely a nationalist. what I don't like is attacking people because they see a different version of America first than you do, like vicious, nasty attacks in both directions. Okay. I certainly don't like people who are disingenuous. And I think Thomas Massie is very disingenuous. I think he won a lot of people's trust with his very good policies towards COVID lockdowns and everything like that. But we saw a change in him. And we saw a change where he went from being kind of like this kind of quirky libertarian type guy to all of a sudden kind of this, well, kind of an asshole, in my opinion. And I'm not judging him on his personality. I'm judging him on the policies. And I think the guy's a fraud. I think he kind of lost his way. And I hope he finds it back. You know, I always wish the best for everyone. But right now he's lost. And I don't need someone like that running even a district, even running one congressional seat. And so I'm glad he lost. At Gilrain, we'll see. You know, let's give him a chance, see what he does. Ultimately, his constituents in Kentucky will decide, just like they decided with Massey. I mean, it says a lot when you lose the way he lost. And sorry, I hate to say it, the voters win the race, not the PACs. You can spend a ton of money. Look at Kamala Harris. She's still lost. So at the end of the day, if it's a free and fair election, there was no evidence of tampering or anything like that. They decided, and they wanted him out, and they wanted to give something else a try. And good for them. You know, that is our process. And I'm glad they're exercising it. Overmaking Concha is a great way. Thank you very much. Why have been drinking for the last 6 years? Then I'm glad. I like New York. Yeah, I mean, I like New York. And honestly, like, I don't see a big difference now before Mondami. It's not like we had a great mayor before. I just like I like my neighborhood. You know, we're in Prospect Lefferts, and we have really great community. A lot of Caribbean people here who've been in, you know, multi-generationals have been here. We've got, you know, different groups of real salt of the earth, like Americans, a lot of American immigrants, you know, big Greek communities, big Irish communities, Caribbean communities, and they're all great. Really, really. I mean, I like them. I like the neighborhoods a lot better now that a lot of the illegals are gone. But yeah, no, I mean, I like Brooklyn especially because it's still very kind of like old school New York. I like that. I'm fortunate that I get to live in a couple different places because I can only take so much of New York before I have to go to more suburban Salem, Massachusetts, or very rural Hudson Valley, New York, where my closest neighbors are the 3 black bears that seem to set up camp on our house again. So yeah. Anyways, a couple more comments and we're going to go. Not getting notifications, algorithm disrupted. Yeah, you know, honestly, this was kind of impromptu tonight. JD, Chantel, good to see you, Loggerhead. Good guy. So I didn't really announce it until the very last thing. You know, we had a long drive this morning. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a show, but I wanted to get in here and kind of break the long streak of not doing a show. So I'm glad you showed up anyways. We're tired of establishment stooges owned by elitist Jewish pedophiles. You know, Sean, think for yourself. Let's see some facts. Let's see some sources. Write a Substack. Make your case, but make it like an adult, not like an angry child. Okay, welcome to the show. What do you think about the Republic? What do you think that Republicans should do or talk about for 2026 midterms exactly that can make us win better among independents and Democrats? I mean, I think it's what they do now before those midterms that they can show that they've already done. I think people are tired of hearing what they're going to do. Just do it now. What that is, I don't know. They, you know, every area is different. What's important to one district is going to be not so important to another one, or to one state is not so important to another one. So I really think it depends on the state. You know, even though the congressional race affects the national direction, people are voted in by how they affect their state and what their state wants in a free and fair election. So I that's a tough one. I mean, as an example, I'm trying to think of a good example. Look, I think what they should do is emulate what Spencer Pratt is doing in the LA mayoral race. He's not afraid to say things like, I want to protect women and children. And he's making his campaign about the issues way more than he is making about himself. Okay. And his campaign's been amazing. I hope he wins. And definitely follow Spencer Pratt if you're not, and amplify his stuff, because we've got to get Carolyn Bass out of there quickly. She's a Cuban trained Marxist, and she let California burn. She's dangerous. So, and she just got an endorsement from Maxine Waters. That should tell you everything you need to know. I think any politician who wants to win in the midterms, especially on the Republican side, because we do have a really bad problem messaging, I think they need to check out what Spencer Pratt is doing and do it. Get out there. He's also getting out there with the people. He's talking about the issues, and he knows the heart of the corruption. He knows where the problems are. He's done the research. He can speak smartly on them. I think that's the advice I'd give you, if that helps answer your question. I see things that Spencer Pratt did that Courtney Wood did during the selection, that Curtis did during the... Yeah, Curtis's problem, though, is that... I mean, I know, look, if I was going to vote for anyone to be Siwa, I don't vote in New York City. I vote in Massachusetts. But I don't think Siwa or what's his face, the former governor, Cuomo, I don't think they know how to connect with other generations. I think that's their biggest problem. They don't know how to speak the language. They don't really know what the voting audience is. They go to these small things, or, in most cases, goes to these rich man things, and they think that's their voting block, and they could have a much wider voting block. All any of those candidates had to do was go every day to every borough and walk around and shoot video. And even though Mamdame's stuff, a lot of it was staged and fake, he got it out there. Until, he did the oldest trick in the book. The no new taxes trick Mamdame did. He said, I'm going to give you a bunch of free stuff. He lied. And they bought it. Okay, well, you don't have to lie to make promises that people will vote for you on. You can say, hey, I'm going to do my damnedest to get these rents down. At the same time, I want to encourage small business ownership and independent landlords, because I think if we all work together, they can make a profit and you can save on rent, and we can find a way to shift taxes, to put more money in your pocket, to, not put money in your pocket. I'm not a socialist, but more like give you more opportunities to make more money, bring the cost of certain things down, maybe get rid of these BS taxes in New York City that we call them eco taxes, but they're actually paying for illegals. Or just go up there and say, no more money is going to illegal aliens. This is how it helps you. And give people numbers. One thing about this generation, the millennials who annoy me, and the generation that's younger than them, they pay attention. And even if we think they're not that smart, they have this thing that's really smart called AI. And they know how to use it to get the answers they want. So you can't really get a lot of stuff by them these days. So you can't really lie to them so much as just tell them, like, here's what I'm going to do. Fact check me. If it doesn't work, then join my campaign and show me how to make it work. I mean, and look, one thing that the Mamdame campaign did really well is it gave a lot of people who were very isolated from the pandemic, you didn't really have a social circle, it gave them a social circle. It gave them a place to socialize. Check it out. I've gone undercover at these things, and they're really nice, really nice people. I mean, that's how you sell things. I gotta say, the establishment Republicans and the old school Republicans are very bad at connecting and, really, except for Donald Trump, but like, the establishment Republicans, they're terrible at relating to people. See, Trump is wonderful at it. That's why he's such a good politician. I think Spencer Pratt's wonderful at it. But a lot of the Republicans, they just don't have it, or they're unwilling to learn it. It does feel like a kind of a club. They've got to change that. And we've all gotten the texts from Republicans. The thing is, the communists, they don't send automated texts. They actually have people, volunteers, texting people personally. Now I see right through it. I see what they're doing, but I could see where a lot of people appreciate that. Personally, I block most of the auto texts I get because I hate getting something from Lindsey Graham that says, "Hey, I really need your help." It's like, I don't know you. Like, but when I was doing the undercover work, against the DSA, they're like, "Hey, man, really sorry that meeting got canceled because of snow. Are you okay? Do you need anyone to help you shovel?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. Is this a real person?" They're like, "Oh yeah, this is Matt. But here's what we're gonna do. Tomorrow we're gonna help this person shovel out, and then we're all gonna go to this place for beers and maybe do some ping pong. You want to come?" And I was thinking, yeah, why the hell not? I didn't go. But like, if I was like a 30-year-old with no friends because I'm isolated in the city and there's a lot of isolation in the city, I could see where that's very alluring. Whereas the establishment Republicans are sending out these texts that are impersonal, just wanting money. And that's not going to win them anything in the end. So another part of that answer for you, K1, is be personal. Be personal when you talk to people. Trump has found a way to do that, addressing millions of people. And look, I've been around the world since Trump got elected again. People love him. Like in Spain, in Portugal, like people, okay, love him. In England, they love him. Not the politicians, but I'm talking about the people. I was in Portugal last June, I think. We went on a cruise with Mark Stein and the crew. And we docked in Porto. And I had my Donald Trump hat. It said, "I voted for the outlaw." And there were so many Portuguese like bartenders and stuff that wanted to try on my hat. Someone tried to buy the hat. They love Trump. Populists love Trump. People, because he can connect with people. And that's what more politicians need to learn how to do on both sides. Because the Democrats are so out of touch. But a lot of the old school Republicans are way out of touch too. And they've got to get personal. Like, we don't want people to give us talking points. We just want you to talk to us and know that you hear us. Know that you actually hear our problems. We're not stupid. We know you can't solve them all. But that's what people want. And that's what people vote for. Okay? Or if they are not getting that from a candidate, like I'm sure they were not getting that from Ed Gilrain, but they didn't like what they were getting from Massie because he wasn't addressing the things that were of concerns to his constituents. He was talking about Epstein files. He's talking about Trump, and Israel's bad. And, his very, very red district, it's not what they wanted to hear. You see what I mean? That's not what they wanted to hear. And he didn't deliver that. So a lot of people in the exit polls were talking about how they voted against him, not so much for Ed Gilrain. So that's something to keep in mind. But again, I would just say, I'm not a politician. I would just say, try to listen, try to have a team that can collect opinions and analyze polls correctly. And, it's just like business. Give your customers what they want, or at least try to. That's the best advice I could give. Advise what a mayor does for a former communist, ideas in queer radical economics. Mondami is a train wreck. What's funny about Mondami is he's acting like his ideas are new and not totally failed communist policies. Like, I've got to find out when he's going to open the communist grocery store, because I definitely want to go there and see what that's all about. But he, he acts like no one's ever tried to do the state-run grocery store before. The entire Soviet Union tried that. It did not work out well. But he's like, we're going to try an experiment. I'm like, we already did. It doesn't work. But it's going to work for Mondami. So, all right, guys, I'm running on and on. We'll do another show. Here. Oh, by the way, here's the cases. We're reopening Bing Liu. I've got tons of stuff on Bing Liu. If you don't know who Bing Liu is, he's the data analyst who was going to make a big announcement right when COVID had started. And lo and behold, he got suicided in a love triangle by another guy from Wuhan in Pittsburgh, which just got billions of dollars from China prior to open all these medical establishments, and is also the sister city of Wuhan. This happened at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center back in 2021. Check it out. Bing Liu. I am reopening that case. I've got a big case I've been working on for a long time about the origins of the DeSantis movement and how that ties to politics today. The radical pro-abortion group that went crazy after the Roe v. Wade decision was kicked down to the states. That's one of the cases. But the biggest one I'm looking at is Blinken's complicity in handing Afghanistan over to our enemies. Because there's a lot of stuff, and you could find a lot of this stuff posted on my Twitter, even on Bing Liu. But the Afghani thing, yeah, I've called out a lot of stuff on that, so I want to kind of memorialize that, formalize that into a report and a couple of episodes. It'll blow your mind when you see the stuff leading up to the fall of Kabul from Blinken's mouth. Because everything he said after that was a lie. Okay, and I kept it all. It's just, when you're doing this, I'm sure a lot of you run into this. You get on one thing and then the news shift and you chase that thing and then you go back to this thing. So I've kept everything, and I'm surfacing these old cases because I think it's important. And I don't think we should get so distracted by so much news coming at us right now that we forget the news that got us here. Okay, so I think it's important that we look at those cases. Anyone can send me leads. Anyone can send me their work. I will read it. I won't read rambling 18-page things with no sources. I won't. But if you've done a Substack and you've sourced it properly and you've taken the effort on these cases, I'll read it. I do want your help with this. This is not me investigating everything. This is all of us investigating everything. And I agree with you, Billy Wiggins. It's a lot of false history out there and a lot of revisionist history. And Afghanistan is a prime example of that. I don't know, Billy, if you recall, but remember at one point they were actually trying to get us to like kind of support the Taliban, like just like days after August 15th, like ISIS-K has run them over. They're the only ones standing between, the people and, ISIS-K is the Taliban. I'm like, the Taliban? And then that went away quickly. And remember this, Billy, did you see one body from the Afghan Defense Force, the massive army that we built over there? Did you see one body being dragged through the street? I didn't. I saw the Taliban roll in. Oh, I'm sorry, ISIS-K. And all of a sudden they were in American uniforms that weirdly fit them perfectly. And were being worn to AR-670-1 standards. I thought that was amazing. So, and there's a lot too. Or like ISIS-K at its peak was like 40 people. It came out of, actually came out of Syria a long time ago. And according to Anthony Blinken in July, right for the fall of Kabul, they were not a threat because they had moved to operations to North Africa. Then suddenly ISIS-K is rolling through all of Afghanistan. And understand this, the military establishment we had put in place of Afghanis, it wasn't like, the Patriot where we trained some villagers. I mean, they had massive halls, uniforms. This is a modern army. And we didn't see one body. I'll tell you why we didn't see one body. Because the ones that didn't flee were the Taliban. They just merged right in. Because everything fit them perfectly. and we left all those weapons, and now now the Taliban is the best armed army in that area of the world. But again, go back to that picture where they're all like posing with our uniforms, and they fit them perfectly. Anyone who's been in the military knows that you're taught certain things in the military, like tucking in the tassels at the bottom of your BDU pants, tucking in your boot laces, holding your trigger finger off the trigger. Things you don't normally see with the Taliban, they were doing perfectly. The fit was perfect. Everything was in standards. It was amazing. I haven't seen it yet. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to follow everyone, like every story she puts out. I like her stuff. I did see some mention of it. I do know the monkey. Yeah, I got to read it again. I was like at a graduation all weekend, and at the Hampton Inn, which is terrible air quality, and there was some weird shit going on above us like all night. I think they were housing people up there. I don't know. So I didn't get a lot of sleep. And actually, I need to go now so I could get some sleep. But I will check it out, K1. And look, all you guys that showed up tonight, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. More on everything. I'll put some links in the description. And do go to dailyclout.io. Check out all of our shows. And you can also go here. If you want to see my latest work on the shooting in Cambridge, check out my Substack or check out my X. And Real Brian O'Shea is the backup I had set up after I got hacked. Check it out. And then definitely follow the show here on Rumble that you see it scrolling along the bottom. Make sure you follow it. It's free to follow, but gets more stuff out there. There's a lot of information on there. Definitely scroll back through the archives. Everything from the border. I mean, this goes back to like 2022. So lots of episodes, even with my former co-host, JJ Carroll. Former, now current ICE agent. We did some good stuff. There's a lot of good information, and you don't want to forget it. Don't let so much new news let you forget about the past, like Billy Wiggins said. So, all right, everyone, you have a great night, and I will talk to you soon, and I will be back on probably Thursday or Friday. I will let you know ahead of time. All right? Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you later. This is Brian O'Shea with Investigate Everything. Have a great night.